It is time for India versus England, and it's time for ESPN Cricinfo Matchday powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G. Aakash Chopra and Ian Bell are all set to join me as we look ahead to the first test at the Chepauk. Right. Akash, Ian, all set. The first of 5 preview statements coming your way. Akash, I'll start with you. India should play 5 bowlers in this first test at Chennai. What do you make?
I think India should play 5 bowlers. You're playing in Chennai. There are 4 test matches in this series. And since 2 matches are happening at one venue, you expect a bit more hardness in the surface. It won't be spin ready from day one. And you may require the services of 5 bowlers to dismiss 20 wickets. And also keeping in mind that you must manage the workload for the entire series. These are back-to-back test matches. In 1 month, you're playing 4 games. So I say India must go in with 5 bowlers.
All right, give me your 5 then before I go to Belly.
Bumrah and Ishant would be my 2 fast bowlers. We haven't had a look at the surface, but I'm assuming it's Chennai. Since it's Chennai, it's going to turn. So 3 spinners, Kuldeep Yadav, Ravichandran Ashwin, a toss-up between Washington Sundar and Akshar Patel. I'd be very tempted to get Washington Sundar in because of what he did in his debut test match. It will be very difficult for somebody to now go and tell him that, you did exceedingly well in Brisbane. That was your first test match. You won us the game, but now we can't find a place for you. He comes from Tamil Nadu. This is his home ground. Might as well give him a go.
All right, now let's go to Ian Bell on this one. We don't know what the surface looks like on the eve of the test match, Belly. We're hearing talk that it could be green and could be almost look a lot like what England are familiar with. Not sure how much to go with. But what do you make of that? Would you go 3 seamers, 2 spinners?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, again, I think India are in a fantastic place. I mean, their squad and depth they've got now in Test match cricket is absolutely phenomenal. We saw that in the Australia series, so it's I think we're very jealous to know now, from an English point of view, how much depth they have, and they're going to be leaving out some very, very fine players. I agree completely. I quite like Akshar Patel having the left arm orthodox. I think watching the Sri Lanka series, I think England relatively play off spin, right arm off spin relatively well. Technically, some of the top order players, but they really struggled with the left arm orthodox. Having faced Akshar Patel myself, I think he's a really good bowler. He's accurate. He hits good areas. I think you could have the balance between occasionally having him with a new ball in the second innings against Dom Sibley and Burns at the top, just as a bit of a change up. So I would like, if I was an Indian supporter, I'd like to see Akshar Patel play. For that reason, I think that watching that previous series, England struggled more against left arm spin than orthodox off spin.
And you look at England's batsmen against left-arm spin, it's the point that Ian Bell's trying to make, that there seems to be some vulnerability against orthodox left-arm spin. We know Jadeja had a great series the last time England were here. If it becomes a toss-up for that second spinner, does Akshar Patel now outrank Kuldeep Yadav and Washington Sundar?
I wouldn't do that. Honestly, the last time when Kuldeep Yadav played Test cricket, he picked up 6 wickets. Of course, that was in Australia, Sydney. Since then, he has not played a single Test match for India, home or away. Now that there is an opportunity, you've got to play him. And he is a wicket taker. I totally get what Ian is saying and what the stats are telling us about the vulnerability against the left-arm spin. But I would still not leave out Kuldeep Yadav. If it were to be, the toss-up has to be between Sundar and Akshar, the 5th bowler. But also be mindful of the fact that whoever that 5th bowler is must also bat at 7. So some amount of batting capabilities must also be kept in mind while picking that 5th bowler.
All right, well, let's go to our next point now. And England have a few selection calls to make as well. Zach Crawley is now ruled out due to injury. So what does that top order look like for you, Ian Bell? What's England's batting order?
Well, I think that's obviously that injury has just thrown a few things up. And normally we're so used to England and India announcing their teams now and before a test match. So I think this one has thrown a few problems in there. Whether we see Joe Root move up to 3, he's been reluctant at times to move to 3. He's tried it. It's not quite worked. So I think he'll want to stay at 4. And it just means now whether Ollie Pope, who's been added to the squad, who's fully fit, who missed out in Sri Lanka, whether he starts at 3. Can you play Dan Lawrence as well, who's a really fine young player? Looked like he played spin really well for a young English player. So there's a few questions to answer there. Ben Stokes will slot back into the middle order, which I think will be nice. Burns will come back in. I think the one thing England missed in Sri Lanka with a lineup full of right-handers until we got to Curran. So I like the balance, having a couple of left-handers in there as well.
Right, Akash, your thoughts? Start of a big series, talisman batsman comes in at 3, or do you put in Ollie Pope on his return to the side, or Dan Lawrence?
See, 3 or 4, as far as I'm concerned, is not going to matter that much. Wherever you bat, you have to bat well. And the later you come into the contest in terms of from the batting perspective, especially when you're talking about the English batsmen on these surfaces against this bowling attack, the ball getting older will make it even tougher. So if Root is comfortable batting at 4, I won't really move him. If it's a toss-up between Pope and Dan Lawrence at number 3, what we've seen of Dan Lawrence in Sri Lanka, I was mightily impressed. Of course, I like Oli Pope as well. He reminds me of Ian Bell actually. But you've got Dan Lawrence who plays spin beautifully. He's got wonderful hands. He's got great feet movement, and he's reading the length really well. I'm actually very excited to see if Dan Lawrence gets a look in, because he seems like the real deal.
All right, we'll wait and see. Let's go to our next point. Ian, we want to know whether England can squeeze in Broad and Anderson, or will it be one of Broad or Anderson?
It's an interesting point. I think it'll be one of. With the 4 Test matches, whether they'll both get through 4, I'm not sure. Whether they'll carry on this, certainly overseas, rotating them. But there's an argument for it. I mean, they both individually in each Test match in Sri Lanka were the standout seamer. So do you play both? My gut feel says they'll keep to that policy of rotating, but there's a massive argument the way they are bowling. They're getting better. You know, I wouldn't be against them both playing, but I think England might stick to the rotating. They play too much.
Right, it's an interesting one, Akash. At the start of a series, don't you just play your best seamers, even if they happen to be Broad and Anderson, and you could say the twilight of their career?
See, it makes sense, because if you don't start the series well, especially when you're touring a place like India, then you'll always be playing the catching up game, and we all know that's not easy. So I'd be very tempted if both are fit, available, of course, twilight of their careers. But then, as all of us have mentioned here, that they had a huge impact in the recently concluded Test series in Sri Lanka. Who worries me more personally, even though James Anderson is absolutely brilliant, Stuart Broad is one guy who I wouldn't want to face on these surfaces because of his ability to actually bowl a lot of leg cutters. And he's one of the few fast bowlers in the world going around who can actually do that at will, and get the steep bounce to get the outside edge carrying to keeper and slips. But if he's not there, I'll be very happy if they're willing to play just one at a time. As an Indian batsman, I'm absolutely fine with it.
All right. And finally, is it as simple as win the toss and bat first in a home series that starts with a test to the Chepauk? In spite of what we're hearing, Akash, that there could be some English feels to this pitch?
Vishen Singh Bedi was my Delhi coach, and he actually spoke something where he told me it's like a gold dust kind of advice back then. Coin goes up, you win the toss. If there is a little bit of green, you pause a little, you bat first. And if there is no green, you bat first. Irrespective, you just bat first. So when you're playing in India, there is no reason. Whatever grass that you see, whatever moisture that you see, you got to bat first. It's a 5-day test match, and winning the toss is a huge advantage. So the team winning the toss is actually holding all the aces, and if they can back it up by batting 5 sessions, 9 out of 10 times you won't end up losing that test match. So win the toss, bat first, irrespective of how that pitch is looking at Chepauk tomorrow.
Okay, do touring teams trust Indian pitch curators when they said, "Oh, there's going to be some grass, some green on it"? Ian?
It sounds lovely. I'd love to see a lot of grass when we tune in tomorrow. I'll be amazed if that was the case. And as has been said, I think it's win the toss, it's bat, and this is where England, if they have any chance of competing and winning this, they have to score big first innings runs. And you want to get on the pitch like that, get on it first. In Sri Lanka, we didn't score 450 plus, and Joe Root scored 100 and 180. So I think that's a collective big push for us to get anything out of this series. England have to score big runs. As we said, have a little bit of luck, win the toss, and have that driving force going into the series.
Right. Big thank you to Aakash Chopra and Ian Bell. That wraps up our preview to this first test between India and England at Chennai on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G and Realme X7 Pro 5G.